Where the Nia Bukwa Karawala, a class of Mandega, Titibly called the play Europe, no? I never quite the cover.
We'll be talking about the mere independence movements in Europe. Every country is made up of regions and cities that all have something that make them unique and different from the rest of the country. Some
come on, they were a copy and what a tower, come on, a chata, choda, well, come on. Or the bed or a chata, choda, well, the Topagamo, a pony parga in a way, tape Yavakara, while come on, Europe, while Edo manager, typically called the pin, or do you have again? I will get tape Yavara, college upon who come on. But they might look Kahu beam, no? Carry what by the need to be got to be an necklace anymore. Or a tape Yavamo, Paganavia.
Some regions are so different to the other regions in the country, they feel like they don't belong together. Other regions want greater autonomy and power, while others want to be recognized as a sovereign nation. We will start with the mere independence movements of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Head of my negative the bleak came on the British woman. I want to choke to the what they back at Scotland.
First, we have Scotland. Unlike most regions that seek independence, Scotland was once a country and had its own king and queen. However, when England and Scotland united to make the United Kingdom, Scotland started losing its power and autonomy, and
Scotland, la book, called the play the bill at order to lot of part, the king in Magata, the British, Florida, our Manata, the British lock, Flora, like a cane, Scotland, whether come on, so Dagmola, Niva, the band, Niva, money. Meted to learn at Tasudang Molosad about whether the British at up line of apply anymore.
And its language. This made a big part of Scottish people seek independence to get back their language and power.
I want to learn me and a couple of about the Colorado Potara Polara. I was Scotty clothed panel of man, but they take Colorado Clola Pony. The Tagu Hoda was Scotty with the panny. It will like chatty Chakora come on. Tea with come on a claw. Me or a British at Tapodara Palami or British and tea with a clone of Malay.
In the last referendum in 2014, 44.7% of the Scottish people voted for independence. However, this number might be much higher after Brexit. Next up we have Wales.
Junior kind of will win again over the United Kingdom, or not gonna do the local independent. Now gonna yellow Scotland, Mawata, that part of Blolly Nagin in newer 47% of one at that part of the pro. Emila Wheeler again in my water blow, you know, my blown and 30%. I don't tell you anymore. Come on, a win and a jack college. Come on, all the British at top right up at Polar. Come on, and will again a clock and a salon of Malijima.
Wales is a little bit more complicated. The Welsh people have always sought for greater autonomy and power, as they aren't even represented in the Union Jack, the United Kingdom's flag. Wales haven't had a single referendum for independence yet, but a lot of polls show the thirst for independence of some people. Over 30% of the Welsh people are in favor of independence, and over 65% want more autonomy and power in the UK. Number 3, Northern Ireland.
I want to show you to do Northern Ireland and all the British, but they do not get a flower to know it to be called the Baylor. Now, government. I will care what to do, come over the level, to be called the Bass of William.
You may know Northern Ireland for the IRA and its dark past, which does play a big role in its independence movement. Northern Ireland is dominated by the people who want to be part of the United Kingdom, the people who want to unite with Ireland and leave the United Kingdom, and a big but forgotten percentage who want to leave the United Kingdom but as Northern Ireland, without joining the Republic of Ireland. This percentage that seek independence as a sovereign nation make up for around 33% of the population. To end with the United Kingdom, we have Cornwall, and all.
Lagar car and all the Cornwall to Gina. Cornwall again, but Cornwall, but no one not to another do not all the United Kingdom or one again. Come on, Edo, Keka, Tiquada Wajilla. I went up one all the column, come on, the Mitiaku Lane, I went in the Cornwall over that Cornwall, no?
Often forgotten part of England and the UK itself, Cornwall is one of the 6 Celtic nations, and it's one of the wealthiest parts of England. Over 30% of the people in Cornwall feel like they don't belong in the UK, and that they're too different from the English. Now we move on to the mere independence movements of France.
I want to go to England and Wallet typically been open. Kaka never like the French one. Fresh night can Wallet okay, typically been a Wojila.
Brittany. Brittany is in the western northern part of France, and
our Brittany that were all another part of French, or another president, or in local, local typically mean a Wojila. I was not reading me quite at Amama, what 80% of Willow.
Many people have also forgotten about its thirst for independence. Brittany are not only one of the wealthiest, but most important parts of France. With its three major languages, Gallo, Breton, and French, this region still seeks independence, and around 18% of the population in Brittany want independence. This may not be that much, but overall, 37% of Brittany's people are Brittany first, France second. Occitania is also.
When the French are called Laga, do let Edo Manega to the because the French are Occitania, Mana. When a Baduna Guinea, Walaka to the because of Bina Ojilama.
So an often forgotten region of France, even though it's one of France's wealthiest. Occitania has access to the Mediterranean, which helps tourists and popularity come to the region. This touristic region also has had a long-lasting seek for independence. Occitania has two official languages.
Our Occitania, where Walaka to the because Bina lower Pagilijim or whatever. I want to know an Edo, look at it because the Bene, come on, Ichuma when he let the weapon come on Edo. Come on, Edo, la Clola, Mama, while all the French are called, I give back the French, the while all the British, but they were British, a claw anymore.
Occitan, a language most people never heard of, and French. There's never been an official referendum, but thanks to polls, we know that over 20% of the population of Occitania want independence.
I wanted there were 24%, Kijilum Lagiane, Occitanian or Occitanian, where they depend like our teeth because of being on.
While another big percentage want greater autonomy. From France, we move to its close neighbor and Mediterranean friend, Spain.
I want to Chunya, let's Spain up. Spain will allow our teeth because of being home that were quite called, but not call it.
Spain has a lot of independence movements after Francisco Franco's dictatorship. However, we will only be talking about the big and mere independence movements. Catalonia is a complicated region to talk about.
I come on, Spain carbon, while I don't manage to the blog of the Brudu Nabazana getting. While I talk class, Dodo Totora, Maraplo plan, or what Catalonia, the Dulomana, Devada.
After Franco's dictatorship, the region has always had a disease passion and obsession with independence. Catalonia has had so many manifestations and referendums, and they still don't get the majority of the votes for independence. In its latest referendum, Catalonia ended up with over 92% of its people voting for independence.
Our Catalonia, come on. Our Mawara referendum again, Palace Spain, but don't hear Queva, no me mad, blood, and what they are little potes are. Our Catalonia, while I local to the because being little papa going our Quishy Kim Lagayan, what Catalonia and local where to the because of Bema. They are the local as a pale of no.
However, shortly after, this was proven to have been rigged and false. Catalonia even has its own language, and it's Spain's second richest region after Madrid. Catalonia also counts with Barcelona, Spain's second biggest city and one of its most touristic and visited. Spain has invested a lot into this region, so of course they don't want to let Catalonia leave.
Come on, there was a penny, away his shoe with that. Come on, Capella with that, Catalonia, the Thea, couple of Spain. Tabablu, Calambulo, were quad, blood, blood, Chida, come on. Take to learn the issue at that or healer without tea to be called the blue. Come on.
Like that, the region is slowly breaking, as its PL part closely divided 50-50 between remaining in Spain and leaving it. The Basque country isn't easy to talk about either. The Basque people have been so desperate and obsessed with independence that
I want to let's speak of what I got to do. I don't mind it to be called the bin. Go a bus fast code. When it had to do, the Nahu Crocrowa, Nagina care what to do later, Margaret, to be called the Blagilla. တော့အခမာကြီးပါချကိုတော့ဝတ္တဟောကတော့ပါမနော်
That they not only made a language for the region, but they also made a terrorist group. ETA was a terrorist organization made by the Basques that bombed and destroyed cities and parts of Spain. Their favorite location to bomb was Madrid, where the government and the most anti-Basque independence people were. There's not as many terrorist attacks as before, but there's still a few terrorist organizations active in the northern region.
ခွန်မောရဝါဒီဖာနေတာကလို့တီတီပလကော့ပလနေကောခဲလာကောမမွလေလက်တာဟောကဝါဒီဖာတဲ့ဝရအော်တဲ့ terrorist မဟုတ်နေလာတဲ့ကလာနာကနေ terrorist အိုဇောဟိုနေအတာကလို့တီတီပလကော့ပလနေဖလာလေခမွန်နေတဲ့ plot လက်တာခမွန်နေလက်တာဖောက်ခုပါမနော်
According to polls and referendums, over 40% of the people seek independence, and unluckily for Spain, this number is only gonna grow for now.
အခမနေဝါ face ကိုနေခမ 40% နဲ့တော့ကတီတီပလကော့ပလလာနိုင်ကားရတော့တေဝရလည်းတေဝပွနေခမကွာတဲ့ဖာရလက်ခီရနောက်ကတော့နေကားထောက်လာမ
Now, Galicia also seeks for independence. It doesn't have as much of a desire for independence as the Basque country and Catalonia do, but it still has a lot of nationalists tied.
အခုနေလေ Galicia နဲ့ဝင်နေကေဝရဒီတော့လည်းပတဲ့မှာလေ corporate တပြည့်ရလာမခမနေကေဝပါတကလူရလာအဲ့တော့ကတီတီပလကော့ပလနာကြရဖနောက်ရရတအားပါမအဝဲလေလောက်ကောကတီတီပလကော့ပလနေဥစားလာနိုင်ပါလေလောက်ကောတီတီပလကော့ပလနေအိုဒီလာတာလာမအဝဲနေ
In seeking independence. They started seeking independence after Franco died and Spain was turned into a democracy. The region in the northern western part of Spain is also very close to Portugal in many ways. As Galician, the official language of Galicia is very similar to Portuguese. Many Galicians even think and want to join Portugal to leave Spain.
အခုမှလည်းဘာဒူနာကေဖာတူကီမာရာအခုမှလည်းဘူတီလာတာခေါနေအဲ့တော့ခမနေအဲ့တော့โอเคဝဲတာအဲ့တော့ပါဖိုလာတာဖာတူကီယာဘယ်နေရနေမနော်အခုနေလက်ချူရပြတော့ကလည်းဘယ်လ်ဂျီယမ်လည်းဘယ်လ်ဂျီယမ်ဘူနာကနေဘာလဲတော့အတီကောနာကနေဝကြလာဘယ်လ်ဂျီယမ်နာကနေနောက်ကမှနေကတီဘလကဘလမောက်ကလေးလာတကြပါ
Belgium is next. Now, Belgium doesn't technically have any independence movement, but the nation is split into two sides, Flanders and Wallonia, in which some people want to be different nations. Wallonia. This region of Belgium covers just a bit more than half of the nation's territory.
အခုနေတာဂက်ကောခါနေလည်းဘယ်လ်ဂျီယမ်ဝါနေကွာတကလူခေါ်လာနာကနေ independent အိုလီနေအဲ့တော့အခမနေကွာခီတူနေတာထိတီသောပါနေအဲ့တော့ကေဝရ Wallonia နဲ့ဒူတော့ Belgium နဲ့ဒူမှာနော်ကတော့အဲ့တော့တယ်
However, it only has 41% of GDP of Belgium and less than half of the Belgium's population. Wallonia have always been closer to France, and they were part of France till not too long ago. Walloon and French are the most spoken languages of Wallonia. The independence movement is supported by over 30% of the region's population.
I want to Wallonia on it, what French for it or what a chat at the blade out where her money. Mawella, typical Wallonia, where come on, like a 13 year old, at the blade of a typical bill, short bill, or they were born.
And an even greater number supports the unification of France, meaning they will become part of France. This is probably because Wallonians feel closer culturally to France than to the.
A common Wallonia, the Arcade, the fresh claw, honey. But the thing where the thing come on the other dialogue came out called fresh dog. Alula to the Nunagan is a fresh lama, Wallonian. The Chomo Bagano can let it a body to quit quite more than
the rest of Belgium and the Netherlands. Now we move on to Flanders.
Junior card of Flanders, mother Flanders.
Flanders may be smaller in size than Wallonia.
I want to Flanders on order another lemon, while all another couple do call Flanders. Flanders died in Adam. Come on, order a call a child order another letter, but
But Flanders has a higher GDP and population. The Flemish people feel closer to the Dutch in the Netherlands, and Dutch is even one of the two official languages in Flanders, the other one being Flemish, which is very similar to the Dutch language.
I want a Flemish in a dance like when a deep thought of what they party. I don't get to the big of the bin, come up, get up, okay, dollar, come on, pressure, the Dutch, Haku, I think you're done, Layan.
Over 30% of the Flemish people want to become a new independent state, and another big percentage want to join the Netherlands.
အခုနေတော့ဒါမမေလာဝရဒူဟနဲ့အဲ့တော့မာတကွာနာတလဲဝရဒူဟနဲ့အဲ့တော့โอเคကြလောကောလောချောလောမှာရတယ်
This conflict between Wallonia and Flanders won't end until something happens and the nation splits. It's also important to mention that a lot of Wallonians and Flemish people want to remain united as Belgium. How
နောက်ကိုနေလဲဘယ်ဂျီယပူနေခမတဲ့ဝါလိုနီယာတဲ့ French နဲ့တော့နော်အဲ့တော့ဟိုဒီလဲဘယ်ဂျီယကကြကောဘူးလားမတဲ့တော့ဟိုလေကောလောချောပါ
However, this will be unlikely, as every day is more likely the country splits. Next up we have Germany and its independence movements.
ချင်းရတဲ့ခါပဲလေကွာလေဂျာမနီနေမြဝဟိုကလောတိတဲ့ကောတဲ့ဝကြ
Bavaria. Bavaria is another region difficult to talk about.
အဝနဘာဗရီယာနဲ့တော့ဒါကဲဝရီဂျာခါလေကောတော့ပါလေဘတ်တေဘာပတ်တေပါ
Bavaria is Germany's second wealthiest region, and it has Munich, which is Germany's second most important city. Bavaria has always been one of the richest regions, meaning they've had to give some of their money away to the other German regions. This annoyed a lot of Bavarians, who want to restore their sovereignty.
အခုနေဘာဗရီယာနဲ့အခမနဲ့ကဲပါတယ်တို့နေခမနဲ့ဝဲကဲတို့ကဲထောနာကဲကလုတ်ကြည့်ပါတယ်ဘာဟီလာကပဲဂျာမနီလာပို့ကိုပြမမလို့ဂျာမနီအခုနေတော့အဲ့တော့ပါတယ်နော်အဲ့တော့ကလည်းအိုကလာ6ကလာမအဲ့တော့အိုတော့ဘာဂျာမနီလာကတို့နေပါပါတယ်
Around 32% of Bavarians are in favor of independence. Germany would really not like to lose neither Munich, neither
အခုနေဂျာမနီဒီတော့ဒါအမရကဟေဝဒါတီတီပလကောတပြရတဲ့ညောပါဟောလဲလေဘာဗရီယာတလောနဲ့ပါတယ်မြူနီဝေခိုဘနေဟောမနဲ့ဝေဖာတော့ဘနေဟောဒီချုံမတဲ့တော့ဒါထိရှူပဲတဟိရှူရမှာ
They're Bavaria. Next up, Italy.
ချင်းရခါကလည်းအီတလီယာ
Veneto, mostly known for its possession of Venice, one of the most beautiful cities on earth.
အဝနဲ့ Veneto နဲ့အဝနဲ့ကဲဝါတကလူပဲနေကြလာကဲဝဒါခမနဲ့ကဲဝတီကောဝေဖလက်ခီလာတော့မလောက်ကိုကလမတဲ့ရတယ်
Has also sought for independence for a
အဝနာကနေတဲ့တော့မနေ့ကကြာတီပလကောတပြရလာမှာ
long time.
ဖာကြီး
Veneto first joined Italy by a referendum, in which the majority of the people voted to join. However, lately,
အခမနဲ့တူတဲ့နေကဲရကပဲအီတလီနဲ့လာအမဝတာဖာပေါ်ကိုတော့အဝနဲ့ဝပါဖို့လောကတဲ့အီတလီမှာတာကနေဒီချုံမနဲ့ကလဲဝဲတော့လဲဆိုမာလီလဲဆိုမာလီယာရတယ်ပေါ့နော်
the people of Veneto have woken up and now they want to leave.
အမခက်ခဲလာခေါပလမာကွာအီတလီနဲ့ဖလာတောက်တာတကယ်ကိုနေခက်ခဲနေအဲ့တော့ဥကလည်းကြာကောလောချောတာဝန်ပေါ့တဲ့ဖန်နီတို
On its last referendum to leave, over 90% of the people of Veneto voted to leave Italy. However, we can't trust if this number is 100% correct or trustworthy. We can at least estimate by polls that over half of the Venetian people want independence.
အကောမနဲ့ဒါခမလောမှာဝရဖိုးဝမှာကွာတဲ့ဘတ်တူလေတဲဝဘာနာရဲ့တမီမျိုးဝဲတူလောကမှာတာဖာပါဖို့တူအမလာရရဲ့ချီပွားဖန်နန်တိုနေလောက်ကောဝတီတပြေကောတပြေလောက်မှာ
It's from Italy. Sicily may not be known for its desire of independence outside Italy, but that doesn't mean that its people hasn't been fighting for it for ages. Sicily had its own kingdom till not long ago, before Italy was even a country.
အဝနဲ့စစ်စလီနဲ့ဝဒါကကြာတော်လို့ကြောပါခင်တော့တာမောတကလေအီတလီနဲ့ကေရဝတီကောတပြေပါအဝနဲ့ဝပါနာကနေလောက်ကောတီတပြေကောတပြေရလာတယ်
For a long time, Sicily did pretty okay in Italy, but lately, independence movements took over the region, and people even started fighting for a referendum. Sicily has its own language, Sicilian, which is spoken in all of Sicily and in some southern parts of Italy. Over 30% of Sicilians want more sovereignty and independence.
အဝနဲ့အားနေရမလားရတချင်းနဲ့စစ်စလီနဲ့လောက်ကောကကြာတီတပြေကောတပြေလေမောအခမတဲ့တော့ဟိုတလို့ခေါ်အီတလီအခုနေမြကွာလေဝဒါတာတဲ့နေကမဒါလက်တီတပြေကောတပြေနေခက်ခဲနေပိုဝဒါလေကောလေ state recognition ခက်ခဲဝဒါလေပွားဟောက်ကဘောတပြေနေတပ်ပါဘနော်ခုနေတော့ဒီချုံမောနေခက်ခဲဒီပါတယ်နေခမလက်ခါချူရနေတီကောကအားတော့မော
Moving on to Bosnia and Herzegovina.
ချူရတာဘကလေချူဘော့စနီယာနဲ့ Herzegovina မှာတော့
The Republic of SRPSKA is one of the hardest to talk about.
အဝနဲ့တော့ Republic of SRPSKAနဲ့ကောတော့မလေးဘကတဲ့အကေကလုံးမှာတော့
The Republic of SRPSKA make up for around 40% of Bosnia's territory.
I want to know what they're doing 40% over the Bosnia where I walk on.
This region has always been on conflict and on war since the breakup of Yugoslavia.
I want to target that low to do that while that do the Kayla. Satala, Yugoslavia Lapon.
Most of Bosnia and Herzegovina is made up of ethnic Bosniaks, while the Republic of SRPSKA is mostly made out of ethnic Serbs, the people of Serbia. Over 60% of people in the Republic of SRPSKA would like independence.
I want 60% whether the panel lock over to the because of the le common when they panel lock over to the because of over the Bosnia the focus for Puma now when come to call by Bosnia and Manu to the because of the G one again. Wakalu did power let that go when Kalu no head of what to the because of the Gadoma, and then like Odo, get all a chocolate Bosnia money.
Or join Serbia. That's right, most people in this region would like to change country and be under Serbia control. This region will most likely stay extremely dangerous and on conflict until something happens that splits the nation. Now it's Serbia's turn. Serbia has had a lot of independence movements and conflicts in its history, such as Kosovo and Montenegro. I won't be talking about either Kosovo or Montenegro, though, as the
Serbia and the Soviet you could feel upon it. I want to die go with the Kosovo, Montenegro, Tagani. I didn't yet what it ever got a Kosovo, Montenegro, Tagama.
They are already independent nations.
I want to put the part in Montenegro, Kosovo, Kevara, independent, Kalula at the Bladimo. Come on, I don't need to be got the Blade at the table.
Vojvodina is another region tired of Serbian dominance.
I want to not get only the duty, Serbia, Kobuni, Korala. Vivian Dana, where what to do, what a glue, even a dog at the because of the Serbia Odimo on it. That lot of ban what
The region located at the north of the country has also had a dark past in the Yugoslav wars. The people of the region had started seeking for independence. Ever since Kosovo did, and lately, more and more attention is being brought up to the region. If the Vojvodina independences, it's most likely that Serbia will collapse, as the country has already lost too many regions. Over 40% of Vojvodinans are in favor of independence.
I want to Vojvodina
Unlike most regions that seek independence, Vojvodina doesn't have its own language, and it in fact, Serbian is the official language. Romania.
I want to choose a bit of Romania.
Chiefly, sadly, I couldn't find much about this region and its independence movement, as it's not even a region.
I want to seek in a girl, but I do not get to the big of the big way. While I can order come on, and a man get to the big of the big.
Shikli is a small part in the center of Romania, which
I want to sing in a girl, but you would order Romania,
which is mostly made out of ethnic Hungarians.
I want to give up Hungary.
This ethnic Hungarians have sought for independence for a few years.
I want to do a seeking the West common place of Margaret to be got the bill, place of
And this movement has gotten big over the last couple of years. Shikli isn't a very rich part, which is why some people would rather join Hungary and create an exclave. Over 20% of the people in Shikli would like to see it become an independent nation.
Moving
on to Moldova. Transnistria. Transnistria is a Moldovan region in the border with Ukraine. The small region occupies an USSR-style-like flag to represent its desire for communism and independence. The independence movement started growing strong after
when there were transnation what do le dog at the because of later attack chune come on do not tolerate madani.
the USSR collapsed, as the people from Transnistria still wanted to remain communist. Moldova and Transnistria have never had peace since then.
However, Moldova, the Tasmania, the Kamatamida Kuruna Blower, Dugla Yala Togola, never do an edo or the Chinese independent Chacola Chorkila.
And the region is always on conflict and war.
When it love honey, Kalada Dogula.
In fact, Transnistria already declared their independence.
Oh, there were Tasmania, the Minimio, Bubara, the Blue.
But for now, it remains as a self-declared state.
The Kakari was Papa no, they were self-declared. Come on, Jabubara, like Tata Blade, or a self-declared statement.
While the rest of Moldova is trying to restore the nation, Transnistria is making guns and weapons to defend itself and
Nagarim Moldova, his car, whatever, come on, or he would have do it to be got the beaver. According to Nagame Transnistria, who does where Lecola, come on, Pocha, could do it, come on, the Hikawa, mamma, which I call me. The Qualaco about Italy, way like you want to our Transnistria or Epola, the Cafe. Yeah, Pola.
Case of another civil war. Over 50% of Transnistrians want independence, and an even bigger percentage wanted
I want to know Yakin in Logati the Black Blade or Panawi not on Ararula.
Join Russia or reestablish the USSR. Ukraine.
Let you create up.
Crimea is very difficult to talk about.
I want a Crimea Coruma, look but the
We all think that Crimea is either Russian or Ukrainian.
I want to walk to Nachumadala Crimea and Keva Ukraine, our Russia.
But a big percentage of its population actually wants to be an independent nation.
I want a Nagar and Nagani, Telecramian head or Kevra, Tikola the Blade Bilama. They had all the Russia, you had all the Ukraine.
Under its own control. Most Crimeans, in fact, only joined Russia just to leave Ukraine.
According to Crimea, common Arkila, Marco, that Russia, couple of dead or a common Tagamupan, dead or Ukraine, Patabra, Polava. I want to know what about holding a bar, keep at a quarter rest and a Tamulet Alononi, chiefly called the Brillamon or a Crimean.
Even though they preferred independence, Crimea was actually a country for 23 hours.
I want a Crimean and I'm not going to tell what he called Billama.
Before it joined Russia in 2014.
According to Kevati called the Blade Bed or Lekila and cover editor or whatever Ukraine Patabra Polava. No, Ukraine here, you are going to look at Baki working at Russia.
Over 50% of Crimeans would like to become an independent nation. Now on to the only independence movement of Cyprus.
Cyprus.
You've probably guessed it already. Northern Cyprus is Cyprus's only major independence movement.
I want to Cyprus now, Kawako, Porkila. Oh, Louis in that polite, the polite, and not going to want to Cyprus, okay, Kina, working it or that dependent like Charlie, no Cyprus. I want to. I'm not going to manage an American independent Latila Cherry, but when I allow to do one and over a chat to La Chola, La Chola allow about a turkey panama.
Northern Cyprus is one of the only regions in Europe and the world in which practically 100% of the population don't want to belong to the country they're in. The Northern Cyprus conflict seems to never end, and with Turkey exporting and importing more and more from this region, this conflict is only going to grow worse.
While Cyprus
is predominantly Christian, Northern Cyprus is predominantly Muslim. Over 90% of the population want to leave Cyprus. Now it's Georgia's turn. Georgia only has two independent movements, but its two independent movements are very big, and most people around Georgia are aware of them and its state. Dangers. South Ossetia may only have just a bit over 50,000 people.
I want to South Ossetia that 50,000. Awara, come a year like that to my blair or my 100% at Awara, 90% အဲ့တော့ဝတီဒီပလီကောဒီပလီကဲတော့ထဖာကဒါလေဂျော်ဂျီယာမော်တော့တယ်
But over 90% of this 50,000 people are in favor of independence and would even start another war just to get it. South Ossetia has wanted independence ever since the USSR collapsed.
အခုနေဘာတူနေအဲ့တော့ကတီဒီပလီကောဘင်းစာတော့လအဝဆိုဗီယက်ယူနီယံလာပေါ်နေအဲ့တော့တီဒီပလီကောဘင်းလဲလေးမနာကလေဂျော်ဂျီယာကနေလေမာဝတီကောနေပါခွတဲ့သူတဲ့ရတယ်နော်အခုနေတော့ဖက်တကြီးတမောနေတတရကဲရလာသူမိဖာကွာလာကကလို့ဝင်ဝတဲ့ဖာဝခါဝတဲ့ဂျော်ဂျီယာမောနော်
And it's not going to stop anytime soon. South Ossetia would adopt Russian as its official language and build bigger relations with Russia. Georgians are scared another civil war could go down any time. They're trying to restore peace in the region. Abkhazia.
When a class of my common and the class of my Bagora a tea corning. She had a kind of ABKHAZIA, ABKHAZIA, Mono.
Abkhazia also has an independent movement in Georgia, which is probably bigger than that of South Ossetia.
I want to let Georgia Bonio to the Brigadier got to do like Abidjan or Georgia Copilla. Lotanati, the Mikoya one do like a to the Brigadier.
Abkhazia has sought independence ever since South Ossetia did. But
I want to Salis Ossetia to be called the Bene. Our ABKHAZIA again to be called the Bayelamo.
Like South Ossetia, Abkhazia doesn't want to be a puppet state of Russia. Abkhazia even has its own language.
I want to remember
Abkhaz. This region also has access to the sea, which is another reason why it's significantly wealthier than South Ossetia. In its latest polls, over 50% of Abkhazes voted for independence. And it's most likely going to keep on with its conflicts until they get their long-desired independence. For now, Georgia is struggling to maintain peace, and everyone is scared inside the country because of the instability. The Republic of Artsakh is a region in Azerbaijan. Made up of ethnic Armenians. Azerbaijan and Armenia have always been in conflict and war, mostly for their religious differences. Armenia is mostly made up of Christians, and Azerbaijan of Muslims. The Republic of Artsakh, however, is the only Orthodoxy and Christian big part of Azerbaijan, mostly because of its predominantly Christian population. The Republic of Artsakh war with Azerbaijan only ended not long ago, and a second war isn't very far away. Over 80% of Artsakhs would like to see an independent nation or the possibility of joining Armenia. Now we'll move on to Russia and independent movements. Ever since the USSR rose to power, Russia has never remained outside conflict. We'll only talk about Russia's biggest independence movements, as this nation has too many and this video will get infinite. Now, Chechnya is a controversial topic. Chechnya has been part of Russia for a long time. But it's also been mostly dominated and under Muslim control. Now, Russia is an Orthodox country and has most of its population is too. Its government never gave Chechnya too much autonomy or power.
အခုနေမမေလေချက်ချင်းရရုရှားထဲတာခွတ်တရလောချောနောချတာပေါ်လာတရနေတော့ဘာမဟိဝနာဟိဝတချင်မလာမလို့
Chechnya has always been oppressed by Russia, and this has made all of the region's people really tired.
အခုနေချက်ချင်းရနေထောင်းပေါ်နေဘာတမန်တာမှာပေါ်လေရုရှားထောင်းပေါ်လာပဲ
Chechnyan terrorists even rose to power at some point this century to attack Russia and force independence to the small region.
အခုနေလက်ခီလာနေလာလေချက်ချင်းရပါတယ်ဘာနေလေမာဝရရုရှားတော့ဒီတော့လေခမကနေဝတိပလီကတ်ပလီကမ
Many Muslim countries and enemies of Russia have focused and paid a lot of attention to the region, and this region will never end its conflict until an independent state is established.
အခုနေလေပေါ်တာတဲ့ဘာခုနေချက်ချင်းနေမဒနီဝတာပလီဝနေခမတာဘာကေကိုရုရှားနေတယ်အဲ့တော့တဲ့တီနော်ဘလောကခမနေဝတိဖာမင်းနေကတိပလီကတ်ပလီမှာတော့တာဘာကေကိုရုရှားနေကိုကိုပြတာတဲ့
Over 30% of people want greater autonomy and power in Russia, and over 60% of Chechnyans want to form an independent state, INGRIA. I couldn't find much about INGRIA, as it doesn't have predominant territory. However, INGRIA does include St. Petersburg, one of Russia's most important cities, that was at some point the capital of Russia. This independence movement has grown pretty strong these last. Last few years, and it hasn't been as controversial as Chechnya. INGRIA would most likely adopt a Nordic flag and probably become another Nordic nation. However, I doubt Russia will let go of St. Petersburg that easily. Over 30% of Ingrians support independence. And an even greater percent want more autonomy and power. Kaliningrad. Kaliningrad is that small part of Russia that isn't actually connected to the rest of Russia. Kaliningrad is very useful for Russia for many reasons. Such as being closer to Germany and the Western countries, to have access to water that doesn't freeze, to border Poland, and plenty of other reasons. However, being disconnected from mainland Russia has made many Kaliningradians feel that they don't belong in the same country. Over 30% of Kaliningradians support independence. And even greater percentage want greater autonomy and power. Kaliningradians don't have their own language. So if an independent state is established, Russian would remain as the official language. The Karelian Republic.
Karelian Republic.
This is by far one of the biggest independent movements in the world by size.
Karelian Republic.
Sicylia, or the Karelian Republic, is over 180,000 square kilometers. However, even though it's 10 times bigger than Kaliningrad, this region has a smaller population than Kaliningrad. The Karelian Republic has never been big on independent movements, but since Ingria's and Chechnya's independent movements started getting big, oppressed Karelians thought it.
Carolinian again, where Edo Manega to be called Bene, commanded that Tomo Ban Haola, a conical wood. Vene Aquila, I am like a Lucinia commanded. But they find in local work to be called the Bejamo.
It was time to rebel and fight for their independence. Russia has never given much autonomy or power to the Karelians. This and other reasons explain how over 40% of Karelians are in favor of an independent state border.
Karelinia.
Finland. Kharjal would become the official language, as it's the native language of
Akone Karelian or the Chakla wala ko whether Karel or Karelinia one a tea common one I want a Chakla and a official language model. Russia clor get a second language model.
its people. And those are more or less the major independence movements in Europe, excluding Turkey and other Middle Eastern countries. As we can see, countries like the United Kingdom aren't really united. Belgium is split into two, and Spain is missing its northern regions.
Come on, I take well. Tikol about go to the party, the Miller who pop of it or a target call, while let you call the part of Gulu at the Noller or Manager TTP got the bed or two plop, two pagada. No, we look at Chacol or two lodge or a Chacol or Chodawamo, or whether Tepiala Europe, Mona.
Europe doesn't seem as united now, does it? Well, these are only the major independent movements, the ones people focus the most on.
I want to get up what it palo what it because we la do to the Pama. Kamala Machepre, when I go here, I think Odimo.
There's also some minor independent movements such as Kashubia in Poland.
I tell you the Poland, a Kashubia and again, upon now the Japonagani, and dog chatty to be called the Yammer.
Piedmont in Italy.
I want to call a Piedmont in Italy, Nina, Bonagos, I was an error to be called the Bayamo. But I do what you thought, do thought how I got the Plala Tapaco, whatever.
Sardinia in Italy as well.
I want to Sardinia and Italy, Yamada.
Liguria, Italy too.
I want to Ligunia and Italy, Yamada.
Corsica in France.
I want a French name called a Corsica, or another chatty to be called the Bejila.
The German-speaking community in Belgium.
I wonder what data or what David Spe or Germany, all Belgium call Leon
in Spain. Andalusia at the south of Spain.
I want Andalusia and the south of Spain. I get all
Baden-Württemberg in Germany.
I want to Baden-Württemberg and I want to let Germany. What I know,
Friesland in the Netherlands.
I want to Friesland and Netherlands. What they pay it
Moravia in the Czech Republic.
I want to Moravia and I want to Czech Republic and Nago
and many more minor independence movements I could have also included. Europe seems even less united now. There are only a few countries that don't have any independence movement, no matter how small it is. Portugal, Belarus, Iceland, Ireland, Denmark, and a few lucky others. Norway, Sweden.
And
many others still have a few independent movements, but they are so small I didn't have to include them in this video. Finally, we've finished the video. From Scotland, land of knights and kings, to Moravia, lands of dark ages, we've covered the better-known independence movements that are still active in Europe. I don't know how many of these might independence in the next few years, and how many more would come, but what I do know is that having written about all these independence movements has helped me learn history and interesting stuff about both the regions and the countries they wanted to leave. All I can tell you before leaving is that this is Europe, and it's not even 100% finished. There are more continents out there, with bigger countries and more cities, in which there are even more independence movements. It's been great having you all, and before leaving, comment where in Europe are you from, and if there's any independence movement I left out.
come on the show ama ta thi the break out the plane o la kla bi la ma pa ge lo thi the break out the plane one me te da to la ba jana ke ne ba ge lo thi the break out the be la ma